Hi, I'm Mike Bolland, host of the We're Not Stumped podcast. The We're Not Stumped podcast looks at different disabilities and really shines a light on the limb loss community. These are the stories we share. Last week, I talked about my own personal feelings of something within the limb loss community, and I call them the triple A's of the limb loss community. Feeling alone, having to advocate for yourself, and having a positive attitude. Thank you so much for the feedback on that episode. I want to do a little more of a deep dive on alone today and talk about it and single it out a little bit. But if you need to get familiar with last week's episode, that was on June 18th of 2025. And I'd love for you to listen to that and then listen to this one because we're going to talk about being alone. One of the first things I said, and really the first example I had, was going out in public after you've had an amputation or you have limb loss. You're going to feel like you're alone. And here's why. Most likely, whether you go to a Major League Baseball game or you go grocery shopping down in the corner, you are going to be the only person like you in that facility. So it makes you feel like you're alone because guess what? A lot of people are going to be staring at you. So that's one of the reasons why you're going to feel alone. But what are some of the other things that make you feel alone? And after I talk about that, I'm going to talk about some of the solutions that are out there right now, things that you can do to help yourself if you feel like you are alone. But what is your opinion? When you listen to this, what do you think? What are your thoughts? And what do you do to make sure you don't feel like you're alone? Either leave a comment or reach out to me if you want to share your personal experience on the We're Not Stumped podcast. Reach out to me. There's an easy way to do it on we'renotstumped.com. So let's go. What other ways can you feel alone? Well, here's one that comes up on the We're Not Stumped podcast. The feeling of isolation, especially if you went through an accident or maybe a medical condition that got you into the limb loss community. At first, a lot of times in the hospital, there's going to be a crowd of people waiting for you, or going to visit you. There's going to be people in the waiting room. And what happens after the first couple weeks? Well, they tend to kind of disappear a little bit. At the end of the day, we all have our own lives. But that right there can lead to the feeling of being alone. And that is a story that's been shared on the We're Not Stumped podcast. So that is another example of how you may feel alone. After limb loss, a lot of people feel they're alone because their body has completely changed. Their own self-image has changed, and maybe they don't even know themselves anymore. That is another common story that we hear on the We're Not Stumped podcast. Another one, lack of representation. How many times you watch television or see a commercial and you see someone like you? Very seldom. It's getting better. I got to be honest, in my lifetime, I've been in the limb loss community my whole life. I see it more now than I ever have, but it's still not where it needs to be. Generally speaking, you're not going to see people like you in the media, and that can make you feel a little bit alone. Here's another example. Do your friends and family know what to say to you now that you're part of the limb loss community? Probably not. They want to say the right thing, but they are so afraid of saying the wrong thing. Put yourself in their shoes. You were probably there as well if you acquired limb loss during your life. I bet you didn't know how to look at somebody like me and know what to say. It's a natural thing, but that can make you feel like you're alone because suddenly the people that you knew the best, whether it be your best friends or your family, they may not be coming around anymore like they used to just because they don't know what to say. So how can you get to be where you need to be in your limb loss recovery? While the physical is extremely important, the emotional can sometimes be completely overlooked. So how do you get the emotional support that you need? Well, you have the friends and family, hopefully, but if you do not have that in your own little support system, well then reach out to an online support group. There are plenty of those around. Some great resources that list online support groups is Amputee magazine and the Amputee Coalition website. There are plenty of online communities that can help you. And I strongly suggest, as do many others who've been on the We're Not Stumped podcast, to go to an in-person support group. Being around people like you makes you feel so much better. It doesn't matter if you're missing a foot and I'm missing a hand. We have a lot of shared stories and we can get along very well. I also suggest listening to stories of people that have gone through what you're going through right now. The We're Not Stumped podcast is a perfect resource for that. Go to the episode list, and right within the episode guide, there are different types of stories. We have them in different categories, where an upper limb is in one category and a lower limb is another. So are accidents, so are congenital, so are medical conditions. These are all different categories within the We're Not Stumped podcast. Find the one that fits you the best. But here's what I think is going to happen. What I think is going to happen is you're going to start listening to all people, whether they were born like this or have acquired limb loss, and you're going to find something that will help you out for being alone. And rebuilding strength, it's not just physical, it's transformative. You need to find the strength within you and go to occupational therapy. It is extremely important that you get your strength back, whatever you can do for that. And a lot of different foundations help with that. Here in Arizona, I volunteer for a great organization called Arizona Disabled Sports. They're a fantastic organization. I help with their bowling program, and we have a great time. Another organization here in Arizona is Ability 360. I'm on their board of directors. They do so many great things for the limb loss community and the general disabled community. Be a part of the community. A guest that I had on the podcast twice was Eric Gabriel, bilateral above knee amputee. But he didn't let that stop him. He continued to be active. He bought a rowing machine and continued to work out until he was trying out for the Paralympics. It was extremely important in his recovery to not feel alone by being with the people that were on that rowing team and be able to share the stories and the camaraderie that comes along with having people like you. Another thing to remember is you are just not about your limb loss. You are still a person. There's more to you than just having a limb that's missing. It could be a big part of you. In my situation, it's something I wouldn't change for the world. But it doesn't mean it's the only thing about me. I think there's a lot more about me than just missing a hand. And I bet you there's more about you than the limbs you are missing. So get out there, be active, make sure you take care of your mental health. If you have any problems, if you feel very strongly about feeling alone and none of these seem like they're the good fit for you, you need to seek professional help. We want you around. We all want you around. We want you to be part of this thriving community because you're wanted and you're needed, and we hope you continue your successful life. Well, that's it for this episode of the We're Not Stumped podcast. I want to thank everyone who reached out after last week's podcast to talk to me about all of the things I talked about. It was on June 18th, 2025, the 3 A's of being an amputee: alone, advocacy, and attitude. I really did a deep dive today on feeling alone. Next week, let's talk a little bit about advocacy. But what do you feel? What are your feelings on this? Please let me know. Like, share, comment, do all of that. But if you need to reach out to me personally, here is my email address, mike@we'renotstumped.com. That's a challenge to you. If you're feeling alone and you need somebody to talk to, I have time for you.